little stories from childhood can bring an incredible amount of awareness and intelligence into our daily life, in our adult lives. Because when we were kids, we were not caught up in logic. We were naturally enjoying life and jumping around and swimming in the lakes. Now when we look back, we realize how amazing it was. Just sort of, there was this instinctual thing as a child to jump in and just become immersed in nature, just play with dirt. If somebody tells you mud is healthy, we'll make a big deal out of it. The centers open up. Oh, you come here, pay us $300, play with mud, put mud on your body. Why? Go outside and just play with dirt and plant some trees, and nature will in turn help you redesign and recalibrate your organism. Tell this story in my classes or my workshops. It has a tremendous effect on how people experience their practice. If you think of your body as a garden, and different parts of the bodies are the different fruits and vegetables, and they're sort of spread out in different corners of the garden. And when the time comes to water the garden, you have to bring the water in to the irrigation system and spread it around into different areas of the garden. When I was a little boy, I spent 3 months of the summer in the village with my relatives. This was profound times for me as a little boy. I spent time with all the animals, spent time in the garden, learning to plant, harvest, water, just in general work with nature. Each family would get a few hours to water their garden. So this is how it would work. There was a lake up on top of the village. Somebody had to run all the way up the mountain, and from the top you had to take a big rock, cover the opening of the water flow, and redirect the water towards your own garden. And you would have to run down following that little stream of water all the way to your house to make sure that it's going right into your garden. The agreement was between neighbors is, everybody gets an hour or two to water their gardens. So you would redirect it towards the right side, let's say, and then wait for 20 minutes. So you'd water the potatoes. And then once you felt it was sufficient, so you would cover that area and redirect it to the left side, and then wait another 10 minutes, and then redirect it to the middle. You understand what I'm saying? And then when the time came, you didn't even have to worry about closing it, because the neighbor would take care of that. The neighbors were impatient. Everybody wanted to quickly water their gardens because that was the season, and that was when the waters were high. And because if you miss that little point, you might just never water your garden that season. And this was important for the livelihood of these people, because this is how they lived on. They lived on natural vegetables and fruits in their garden, and they also sold some of it in the market too. One time I was practicing, and this is what came to my mind, and my leg was bent and I was holding it for 5 minutes, and I thought, wow, my leg is bent, my hip is externally rotating, and you hold it like that, it redirects the blood to different areas of the body. It blocks certain areas of the body. So you block and you redirect blood and energy flow. This is a very important part of creating health, wellness in your body. One of the reasons for having physical illnesses is poor circulation. Not only we don't move enough, we don't even know how to circulate blood in our bodies properly. That's okay. This is why there are these modalities you can read about and maybe just incorporate it in your life. So something like coming to the floor, holding a pose, and then switching and then holding it again for a few minutes, like the irrigation of your body, blood and energy. This is the analogy I always use in my workshops, and I always thought it was very helpful. People understood why we're holding these postures for 5 minutes or 6 minutes. As you become an advanced practitioner of any kind of modality, you can listen to your body. You can hold them as long as you want. When I was a boy, in the mornings I'd wake up and I would see our father doing a headstand on the couch against the wall. He wasn't a yogi, or he didn't know how to do a proper headstand in the middle of the room, but he would go against the wall so he doesn't fall. But the point wasn't to do a perfect headstand. The point was to increase circulation to his head. So he would do a headstand for a few minutes in the mornings, and we would laugh. We had no idea. And then he would come down and his head was red. That was blood and energy inside his head. There are very specific conduits to the body that run, let's say, to your arms, through your groin, and through these conduits energy flows, and through this energy your organs become nourished, right? And if you change the path of that energy, it's like stimulating, it's like blocking something for 5 minutes, so gaining that momentum and then releasing it and sort of rushing back into its natural flow again. So this kind of stimulation makes the pathways healthy and open. The irrigation system of our body, the natural system, becomes healthy and strong. For example, if you raise your arm, it affects your heart meridian. It's called meridian channel, for example. If you do an external rotation of the hip, it affects your bladder, urinary bladder. Or if you stretch your groin, it affects the groin line, affects your liver. So these are just a few examples, how holding these postures will sort of irrigate, bring intelligence, bring blood to these organs, and you have this overall balanced organism. Our body needs to be regularly sort of nourished with our blood and energy through healthy circulation, okay? So exercise, movement, but also the knowledge or the understanding of how to redirect energy patterns and redesign them. You help the body redirect and point different directions. The body takes that information and redesigns its pathways, its patterns in different ways. That's why when you practice any kind of modality, you just from one practice, you always end up feeling refreshed and great. And this is not a big deal, and it's nothing to believe in, and it's common sense. It's not a big deal. You don't have to read science. You don't even have to read any kind of esoteric practices. You can just think about this for a moment and, well, that makes sense. If I raise my arm, it's going to change the blood flow in my body, right? If I bring it behind my back and bring it up a little higher, it's going to block energy in my shoulder maybe. It's going to give it a little stretch, but the blood flow is going to change. And after holding it for a little while, I'm going to release it, and then it's going to flush back into it. It's common sense. We don't need to make a big deal out of it, and we can just learn to sort of incorporate these little things in our lives, a few minutes a day.